Welcome to the garage, Mom. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
I'll be honest with you. I didn't think that you were going. I'm terribly surprised that you're here.
I'm a little surprised too, but when you said you prayed about having somebody come or somebody, the next person for you to interview, and then you got a message from me right then, and it turned out I really didn't need to have sent that message. Anyways, it all seemed kind of like God was saying, oh, go do this thing. Do this thing with Dane.
So is that why you're here?
Yeah, mostly.
Okay.
I mean, I felt prompted. I knew I would do it eventually, but I'm not very comfortable doing this kind of thing. But I felt like God yesterday said, it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that yesterday when we were exchanging those?
Texts.
Yeah. Okay. What if I told you I was just making that story up and like he didn't actually?
Are you serious?
I wasn't praying to him.
Really? Is that true?
I didn't make it up. It's true.
Okay. Well, I did sort of, because as it turns out, I mean, my reason for coming here wasn't necessary. I learned right after I had sent you your text and you had said to me that, God had sort of, answered the prayer. Then I also learned that I actually didn't really need to have sent that text. I had sent it preemptively. So anyways,
I've learned
here
that.
I am.
I've learned that if you tell people like, yeah, God told me to do it, then you really can't argue that much with that.
No.
It's funny. I am very much trusting God to lead me in who sits across from me. And I'm trying to not, I've had plenty of ideas on who I want, but I try to not base my decisions on who I want. And I've tried to pray about it and tried to be open to who he may be guiding me towards. And I had it in that moment. You were sitting around what I have made my altar. And so this is a place where when the worries of the world are crushing me or when all I can do is think about stuff that ultimately won't really matter, this is my space where I come and I leave all that stuff. Technically what I do is put it here on the table and let him take it from me. Mm. But anyways, I had been sitting around here and I was praying about the next episode and who to guide me, who to be here with me. And then I went inside and picked up my phone and you had texted me. So who knows?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, cool. So I know we were just talking about it a second ago, but if there was a group of people that you could be most catered to helping with where you're at in life, with what you've gone through, getting to where you're at, if there was a group of people out there that you could help or give advice to, who would you be best suited to give advice to?
Well, I think that I find now that the other women who are younger than me, I'm going to be 62 soon, and I'm at a stage in my life where, I've been a parent, I've been all the things, I've been, the mom and the wife and all that, and I think it would be nice to have other women to kind of mentor you through that.
Mm.
Especially like, when you're wondering where God is in that and, what your role is and all that.
So mother, wife, and while you're both of those things right now, I mean, you're more than just those things.
Yeah.
Where would you say that you're, in addition to those two things, where would you say you're at in life right now?
Well, I'm actually getting ready to look at the next part of my life, which is kind of weird because while I'm always going to be a mother, I'm not, I don't have to actively mother every day, all day anymore. And
you're welcome.
Thank you.
I guess.
So anyways, I'm looking at the next stage of my life. Like, what do I do after I retire? And, what do I do with that?
Well, and you have a business right now.
Yeah.
So your mother, your wife, you have a business, and you run that. You've got your friendships, you've got your faith, you've got your friendships. I don't know if I just listed that twice. Family,
my sisters. And,
yeah. So offering advice to people, women who are younger, who are maybe mothers, newer mothers, getting ready to be mothers, thinking about it. Why them?
Well, because I think that. Well, I think when you're doing that, I mean, I know when I became a new mother, new wife, I mean, it's not like
There's no guidebook for
there's
these
no
things.
guidebook. Yeah, and even each kid is different, and there's nobody really to say, well, this is how you do it, and I think we as mothers, I think we take on a whole lot of things. We feel responsible for so many things, and with our families and our homes, our jobs, and I just think that as women, we need to support each other through that. But also, I think it's important to have the wisdom of somebody who's been through it. I mean, when I was a younger mother, I went to a Bible study, and I just loved the older women in my Bible study because they just had so much knowledge and just common sense and, advice,
It's kind of it expresses the importance of community.
Yeah.
And you kind of in a way can create your own community. And I just use my small group here on Wednesdays as an example, but I mean there's men of all ages. I mean it goes up to the age of 67 down to mid 20s. And I mean there's stuff that some of these guys have been through that some of these younger guys have never even heard of yet. And so I mean and a lot of it is surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yeah, that's true, and I think that I as your faith grows too, it's so nice to have some, to be able to share that with people, just your experiences and your faith and how your faith, affected your experiences.
So do you have either people to mentor or to speak to? Do you have this community?
Well, I do. I mean, actually, I have a great community of friends. I have, really good, close friends, and we actually mentor each other, but who are like similar age. Because like I said, we're sort of entering a newer stage now in our life, a different stage. And again, there's no guidebook for that. But
Sort of no guidebook for anything.
No,
Actually,
there
probably the
isn't.
only guidebook we have is the Bible.
Well, that's true. That is true. And I wish I had used that more when I was younger. But
Yeah.
I also, at my work, I do have some younger parents that I work with. And, and I see and they tell me about their struggles with parenting or whatever. And I think I just have a little bit more. I have something to offer them. The things I did wrong and the things I did right. The things I wish I'd done differently, and I think that's useful.
I think that's 100% useful, and honestly, I think that we're given, or it's almost a blessing to. I don't know the list of things that you have gone through. We all have our own lists, but I think it's a blessing to have those lists because then without that, you may not be able to go to those young mothers and help them, and they may be walking right into a pit of fire without even knowing it, and you divert them with what you've gone through.
Yeah.
And so I think that we're given these stories for reasons to maybe help.
Yeah, I think so too.
Did you have somebody who was the biggest mentor in your life?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Honestly, my dad.
Okay.
Yeah. He was sort of, definitely my dad. He was sort of my rock, the rock of the family.
Yeah.
I don't want to get all emotional. But, if I needed advice he was just a good person. He was a good man. He was fair. He was honest. He worked hard and he taught me all those things. And so if I needed anything or I felt like I needed somebody to talk to, it was probably him.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have that.
Yeah.
We were going around the table at a Bible study the other day, and the main question, we all start off with a question: who's your mentor? And each person, two different people speak each time. And some people have no mentors. Some have mentors you'd never expect, and some. So but not everybody has people to lean on or somebody to be mentored by, and so it's no matter who it is, it's good to have somebody.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
So how did just that? A little bit of a 90-degree turn here, but so the business that you do have, how did you get to entrepreneurship, and how is that going? Have there been struggles along the way?
Yeah. Yes and yes. It's just weird how I got there. It certainly wasn't anything I ever thought about doing. And well, it was definitely, I mean, the right people in my life along the way. And also just, it was a gift from God. I've always known that from day one.
The business itself, break that down for
Yes,
me.
the
Yeah.
business itself, and then the passion to do it. So when I was a young mother and I had young kids, and I was a stay-at-home mom, I was raising you guys, and that's where I wanted to be. I was, I happy to do that. I wanted to do that, and Dad felt the same way. But I also felt, I mean, there were days when I was doing laundry or cleaning the house or changing a diaper, and I just sort of felt like I was meant for something more. But, and I prayed about it a lot. I just thought,
During those moments, after, when did you do this praying?
well, at any given time, but I was also in a community Bible study at the time.
Okay.
And I prayed about it then. I just, like I said, I just was asking God. I was like, I feel like there's, I'm supposed to be doing something else, something more. And I prayed about it a lot. And ultimately, and it took some time, and I mean, some time as in a year, years, I hardly remember, but I thought he didn't answer until I realized his non-answer was an answer, in that his answer to me was, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing right now. This is your job. This is where I want you to be. And so then I felt better. Okay, I'm gonna put 100% into this, into raising the kids and stuff. But in his own way, he had a plan for me, and it just wasn't what I thought. And so again, when you guys were younger, I just started working with furniture. It sounds kind of corny, but
Did you start doing that
yeah.
when did you start doing that?
Well, when you guys were young, as kind of a hobby.
Okay.
Like I actually, I remember I got inspired I went to a flea market and found this really cute old set of furniture, and I ended up buying it and bringing it home and redoing it, and for Haley's bedroom. And I just loved doing it. And so it was super fun for me. So it was a great hobby. It was a great thing that had nothing to do with anybody else. It was just something I enjoyed.
It was yours.
Yes.
Yeah,
It wasn't about the kids or the house, the family. It was something I really liked to do. And the more I did it, it actually was like, well, it's kind of weird, but it's just stuff I really enjoyed doing it.
Sure.
So ultimately then, so I'm trying to remember, but I met a woman I was getting some framework done, and she had a booth at a shop, and she mentioned that she was looking for somebody to share her booth with. And so it just got me to thinking, and then I said to Dad, I was like, I've been thinking about the lady who wants somebody to share her booth. And he said, oh, do you think so-and-so should do it? Because so-and-so was like all creative and had all this stuff going on. I was like, well, actually, I was thinking about me. And that's how it got started. So I ended up sharing a booth with this person, and then I found another one. I could go on.
Well, it's funny because I'm remembering now, like, I mean, the house, and it's sort of blurry. I was much younger, but the house, it probably took over the course of years, but it just slowly started to fill up with furniture.
I know. It's true.
And it, like, the garage filled up.
Yes.
And then it overflowed into the house.
Yes.
And then the downstairs room filled up.
Yes.
And then
I would literally be painting a piece of furniture in the kitchen. Like I'd throw down the drop
then the kitchen
in the middle of the
filled up.
kitchen floor, and
look like hoarders from the outside
I know.
looking in.
Well, it was, but again, it was like God gave me a gift. Like, well, what he did is he gave me this like side hobby, that I loved that is now ultimately turned into a business for me.
Yeah.
And I've all along it has felt like it's been a gift from him. Like he just put me in the right place at the right time over and over and over again. I would have never thought of myself as an entrepreneur or a business owner. I didn't get my degree in business in college. I've never run a business. I never really worked retail. But
But you enjoy it. You're good at it, and in a way, you get to you serve other people.
yes,
And in a way, and it all depends on how you do it. But I think you get to even serve him.
I do. And that's the thing is, it isn't about the money, and it's not about, I actually don't really have time now to work on furniture, but I'm in a community, and so my degree is in social work, and I can use that knowledge every single day working with people. And because of the type of shop I have, I develop relationships with my consigners and my regular customers. So it's not just about, it's about them and their stories, and how I can help them through the process of downsizing, or you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, and ultimately, like you wouldn't be in that position, and more so, like let's just say within your business and within that realm of the community, more of like a leadership or a position, a business owner, whatever word you want to attach to it. But you wouldn't be in that position if he didn't want you to be, and if you weren't made for it and good for it. And so a friend told me a story the other day. He's moved up into a position of his bowling world where he's like the not the owner of a shop, but like the president of the league. And so now there's a lot of eyes on him, and with that comes a lot of responsibility.
It does.
But also like there, and he was telling about a story where that somebody he was in his shop or in a shop, and somebody came to him a little bit aggressively or angrily, and they were angry, and he was going to respond, and then realized that there was like 4, 5, 6 other people around him, and that the way he responded really mattered.
Exactly.
And we can't have any idea on how massive of ripple effects our actions and words can have. But you've been placed into this position where it's going to matter what you do.
Yes.
And it's going to matter what you say, and it's going to matter how you say it. And you have, and you are right for that position. And so if somebody comes at you angry and you respond with kindness and compassion, you're a good representative of the Lord. Mm-hmm. If you weren't that, you wouldn't be where you are.
Yes.
And so that's a long way of saying, I mean, there are ways for you to serve him by being where you are,
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I totally feel like he put me there.
Yeah.
And so it's less about the business, it's just more about what I do, what we do at the shop.
Well, and like I'm sort of like a broken record in saying this, but I think that all you have to do is focus on him and focus on serving him and trying to treat others with kindness. And if your focus is in the right place, everything else takes care of itself.
It's true.
Like the business and friendships, relationships.
Yeah, and I find like when I get anxious about the business or overwhelmed or whatever, it's because I'm not focusing on him. And I feel so responsible for all the things.
Yeah, trying to control it.
Yeah, and that people are depending on me and blah, blah, blah. But really, then I have to remember, where it all came from and what it's about. And then I'm not overwhelmed.
It was a good video on YouTube the other day, but it was a pastor or preacher talking about Jesus. And if there was anybody in this world who had the right to say, God, I don't have time to pray right now, I don't have time for you. I mean, Jesus was amongst thousands who all needed his attention, and they all needed his healing. And I mean, there are people who have been waiting to see Jesus for days just to talk. Mm-hmm. And there was one scenario where there was this huge crowd that had gathered, and the disciples couldn't find Jesus anywhere. Mm-hmm. And they searched and searched, and they found him like in some random part of the town all by himself. And he was praying to God, and they're like, dude, people need you. They've been waiting for days. They're getting kind of angry. And he said, like, I understand, but I'm where I need to be. I
Yeah.
need to pray to my Father, and so. But if anybody had the right to say, "No, I don't have time for prayer right now," it was Jesus. Yet he understood that by doing that, we are connected to the source, and we're more grounded and centered in where we're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so, tying that a little bit back to what you were just saying, I don't remember how I was going to tie that back to what you were just saying, but just about how you need to focus on him, and everything else seems to take care of itself.
Yeah, exactly. So back to where I was is, he kind of, and I think God is funny. I think he has a sense of humor, and he sort of just gave me this little side hobby that turned into a little side gig. And now I have a business, and I can use that business to, however he wants me to.
Yeah. And with great power comes great responsibility.
I know.
Why are you laughing?
I don't know. It's just, I think that's funny. I mean, I was praying for something, and this is not what I thought I would.
What did you think
Yeah.
when you said, "I want something, I want more, I'm made for more"? What was your more?
I thought I was meant to do like mission work, and the one thing I'd always wanted to do the Peace Corps, and but when when your kids are little,
It's hard to do those things when you have kids.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I really want to go do mission work.
And he's
but,
like,
I've
"How?
got two little
How
kids.
are you gonna?" Yeah.
Yeah, it just wasn't realistic. So he said, "Here, paint some furniture for a while."
Here, go paint a chair.
Yeah. But the thing is it sounds corny, but I guess if you have a hobby that you love, I mean, like I would love working with furniture, and it's not just like I would take a piece of furniture, and by the time I was done with it, it's like I would have this. It sounds so weird, but this like relationship with this piece of furniture, and then I was ready to let it go. It's just so it's a sustainable thing, It's something that people can use, and instead of being a piece of junk, you can make it into something new for somebody,
Yeah. It fulfills you, fills your cup up.
And it's something that then I can pass on to somebody else.
Yeah.
It's an actual thing.
It's funny, and I mean, in a way, that's sort of how I feel about the YouTube and creating these podcasts or videos. I mean, I won't go too long into the story, but doing it, it was an idea that came to me one day, and I've learned you got two types of ideas. The idea is that you have this idea, you pursue it, and then it falls off after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and you don't stick with it. And I think that was very much my idea, not something he wanted for me. Then you got an idea like this YouTube stuff or like furnitures, where it's like, it's an idea, you do it, you chase it, and then you stick with it, and it turns out you're actually really good at it, and it turns out that you're fulfilled by it. And I mean, and I think those are the ideas that he puts on you, and for a reason. And like, this is something I can try to give to other people, and I'm good at it, and I'm fulfilled by it, and it just sounds a lot like what you just said.
Yeah.
You
are good at it.
Oh, thanks. So what's been the hardest part of, and one, I don't mean to make that about me or about the YouTube channel, but I think those are how you discern which ideas are yours and which ideas are from him, and it's like this random thought, and it turns out you're good at it. Turns out you're fulfilled by it. Turns out you're helping others with it. I mean, those are his ideas. The ones that fall off after 2 or 3 weeks are not.
Right.
And so, what's been the hardest part of owning your own business?
Gosh, I mean, it is hard. There's a lot that's hard. Well, when I first started, there's those people who tell you you can't.
Sure, opposition.
Yeah, you're not going to be good at it. You're, your ideas aren't right. All of that. But because, especially in when I first started, I knew it was from God. That did not deter me. In fact, it made me more determined.
Kind of like Nehemiah on the wall. You remember that story from church?
Yeah.
Keep going. I'm listening.
Yeah, that's true. I also, this is an aside, but I also had a lot of support, and, like Dad is an entrepreneur, and he has been since I met him. And, so I I saw him, work hard at something that was important to him and a dream for him, and so he also supported me. Do you know what I mean? Like it. We're a family of entrepreneurs, so
Yeah.
we support that. It's not the easiest thing to do. You got to have some money to start up, and you got to have a lot of time, a lot of effort.
Yeah, a lot of willpower and discipline
Yeah,
and
and a lot of
self-control.
time, and a lot of time.
Yeah.
But so the hardest parts, I don't know. A lot of it has been just trusting in, myself, to make good decisions, and and trusting that God will, grow my business, and so many things.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Fair
might need
enough.
some help with that.
Well, I don't know what's been the toughest part for you, but so maybe letting go of control and
Yeah.
just trusting him to, and
Yeah.
that may not result in like this booming thing that like you may want it to be, but it is what what you need, not necessarily what you want.
Yeah, I think that is right. I think giving up, control and the idea that I have to be able to do it all.
Yeah. Well, and
yeah.
we cannot control the results. All we can
Yeah.
do is in each day, each single day, individual day, do the best. Do the best
Yeah.
you could possibly do.
Yeah.
And then let go of it from there, because you cannot control the results. You've done all you can.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of times easier said than done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So what's next for you? What's the next stage of life? I mean, you said that's something you're getting ready to.
Well, okay, here's a thing that's been on my mind a lot, but I don't know exactly what's next, but I'm not done with now.
What is now?
Now is I like my job. I
Okay.
like where I'm at. I like the people that my team, and I feel like I still feel like I have work to do there, and that I can still, God can use me to be a blessing to others. I do think that I am in a community, an area that is, I'm surrounded by people who I don't think are Christians.
Sure.
And
So that's probably most of the world.
I know. So I don't know if there's more I can do, or if God has more work for me to do there, but I feel like I'm supposed to be there for now.
Okay. So in an area surrounded by people who are not Christians, and you are in a predominantly, I think, younger area.
Yeah.
Now, maybe you can put two and two together. And so are you thinking that there may be something that you can do either on a larger scale through your job, or, I mean, who knows? But are
Right.
you're thinking that there's more?
I do think there's more. And even if it's, I just try to, even if it's just touching, I think you and Ron talked about it, but one person at a time, or one person, then that's great. And then, so I think there's people that I work with, and people, that I come into contact regularly with, that I can possibly be, have some influence over.
Sure.
Or, maybe there's somebody right around the corner that God plans to send there, or maybe there's something more. But whatever it is, I'm sure he's, got it.
Yeah, it's best to not try to figure out what that's going to
No.
be, because what you're then doing, we all fall guilty of this, but you're then drawing a box
Right.
around what he is and can do. And so if you just remain open to whatever it could be,
Yeah.
and if you feel like you're supposed to be where you're at and continue where you are, then that feeling is in there for a reason.
Yeah.
So you're probably exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And
So-
even if it is just touching one person's life, that's okay.
Well, that's huge. And imagine, I mean, and we cannot
Yeah.
possibly know what the ripple
is
effects
huge.
are going to be, but yeah, it is huge. And so imagine if there's a a mother who walks into your store in 3 months from now in a horrible mood, and you treat that person with kindness, and you edge her just a little bit closer towards being kind that day.
Yeah.
And then when she goes home and interacts with her 3 young children, she's a little bit kinder to them. They grow up a little bit kinder than they would have been. And the people that we cannot possibly know, but the ripple effects are massive. Have you heard of the butterfly effect?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Where the flapping of a butterfly's wings can cause a monsoon on the other side of the,
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
Is that like real?
I don't know. Sounds good.
No, I totally, I agree with you on that. Yeah, little small things.
Yeah, they can have really big impacts that we just can't possibly begin to. I was talking with somebody the other day, and I very much believe that there are spiritual things going on that we can't see and that are beyond our ability to see and to be able to, experience.
Yeah.
And this person believed that there was a town and so there are spiritual beings, both good and bad. And this person believed that there was a particular town, and there was a evil, negative, spiritual being that had settled over this place, and it has influence, and it creates negativity, and it draws a certain type of people to it. And and energy everything has energy, but whether negative or positive, and that this town, there was just this negative spiritual being that had settled over it, and it was attracting a certain type of people, and it was sort of up to Christians or true followers of Jesus to be the light in this community, and to be a light and spread their light or his light more than the darkness may be trying to spread or be spreading. And so do you think that, and these are deeper things we're talking about, but do you think that there's some sort of evil or negative thing within the area of where your work is?
Yeah, I do think that there is some of that. I think it's pockets. So I think that, there's plenty, there's a lot of light, but there's pockets of the dark.
Sure.
And I do worry about that. I worry, about the darkness getting bigger.
It's sort of like, and it's hard to growing.
Yeah.
It's hard to kind of picture, but if you have like every human being in the world all laid out on a table, and they were all connected like spider webs, and then you had it's a lot of people, a lot of spider webs, but they're all connected to each other. And then you had some of those people who were spreading light, and then some of those people who were spreading darkness. And then, it's like, okay, well, if you got 2 or 3 people kind of spreading light, well, then you're going to start to drown out the darkness of one person that is right next, and then that darkness may eventually even turn into its own light. But then if you got a pocket of 3, 4, 5 people spreading darkness or evil or self-centeredness or greed or whatever it may be, then those 2 or 4 or 5 people may start drowning out the light of one person.
Yeah.
And so it kind of talks about the importance of community, but it too, and in the end, I think that the light will always win.
Yeah.
Not to be too corny,
Yeah.
but I think that the darkness of one person can affect, we're all connected.
Yeah.
And I think the darkness of one person can affect the light of another, and it's sort of up to us to spread his light.
Yeah. Actually, I like that, the imagery, because, even if, I can be a little pocket of light in there,
And the light
in the community
is what dispels the darkness.
Right.
The darkness will never win against the light.
Yeah.
But there is some, even if unintentionally or subconsciously or spiritually, there is some battle that's going on between the two.
Yeah.
And it's
always.
Yeah. And so I think that, we have to just truly represent, how does the moon, where does the moon get its light from?
The sun.
It reflects it from the sun. So all we can do is possibly reflect his light.
Right.
Be reflections.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I like it.
Um, I wanted to ask you. Oh well, and you. I think ultimately, I'm usually the one to bring it up, but I think you did earlier in the conversation. So how long has your faith been a thing for you?
Well, so I did the whole. I grew up in church,
Me too.
and yeah, and so I was always exposed to it. I always, believed in God, but I didn't really understand it very much, and I also didn't have what I now know as a relationship with God. Like I didn't really even know that was part of it.
It's kind of hard for kids to wrap their mind around that.
Well, it is. It is. Yeah. But even that's true. So, I mean, I can look back at my life and I know, and then there were times when, like, I felt the Spirit of God, but I didn't know what that was. That's the part I don't feel like I was taught about that. Do you know what I mean? Like, when I grew up, it was very, I knew all the stories and I knew all the hymns and all the things you're supposed to do, but I don't remember people talking about having a relationship with God.
Well, which is what matters way more than the knowledge.
Exactly. And maybe that was there and I just, like you said, I was too young or I just didn't know it. So it's taken me a lifetime to understand that and to have a relationship with God. I did have experiences like with the Holy Spirit throughout, like when I was a teenager and then as a young adult, but I didn't understand them. Like at the time, I didn't know what that was. So, and one of the things that I was thinking about earlier today, which is funny to me, I was in college and I went to a chapel and I was there by myself and it was quiet. And anyways, I felt the Spirit of God there. And,
What did it feel like?
I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but where you can just feel it in your body and it's just warm and I get like kind of goosebumpy and it feels good.
Okay.
And you can feel presence, and it feels safe. And but anyways, so I loved the feeling of it, and I went back there later because I thought that I had to be like, oh, that's so I can go to that place, and that's where the Spirit will be, or that's where
Gotcha.
that'll feel. I didn't realize then that that can happen to you anytime, anywhere.
Yeah.
So I looked for it in that place again, and it wasn't there the next time. So, I had a lot that I didn't know. But
Well, and that's where the knowledge can come into play. Is like, well, the Bible will tell you that it's not a location where you experience the Spirit, but
Right.
it's within your heart, and so you can experience Him anywhere. And so you need a
Yeah.
little bit of both relationship and knowledge. But
True. And like I said, it's taking me a lifetime and I'm still working there. But I did sort of become born again when, well, we were at a church where you guys were younger. I don't really want to talk about the name of it, but and that's when I really, felt the power of the Holy Spirit, and I really kind of gave myself over to God.
so that was, and there are things with that I call like a stake in the ground. Like this is a turning point. This is where
Yes.
and so I mean, you had a specific turning point in your relationship.
Yes. Yep. Totally. And that's when, I started learning more and I started digging more and I started understanding more about having a relationship with God. Ask a question because I was thinking
Ask a
something
question.
else.
What?
Well,
I
yeah.
got plenty of questions,
Yeah.
but go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
Well, so anyways, so that's so my relationship with God has grown from there, and it is, it's now more of a relationship, and I can't think of what I was going to say.
Well, what and like, I think some people have. It's funny. I've talked with a lot of people, and I've actually collected a lot of stories from different people on their relationships with God and how they got to be where they are, and how and so like some people have specific turning points.
Yeah.
And you are one of those people. Some people they're just like, well, I've just always kind of, had this or been there, and there's a lot of different ways it can all happen.
Yeah.
And like myself, for example, I have a specific turning point, and I, in a way, I consider myself fortunate to be one of those. What was your specific turning point?
So I was in church one morning, and the pastor, said, it was like, okay, well, fill out this card if you're, want to take the next step or whatever. And I had this like internal, struggle. Like, I don't know if I really want to fill out the card. And, and ultimately I say that I don't feel like I even filled out the card. I felt like God just took my hand, made me write down.
Sort of compelled.
And yeah, I almost felt like physically it was like, okay, you're going to write it down. Get off the fence. I felt like he was like, okay, it is time to get off the fence.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to just dive in now. And so that happened, and things changed. And another time within that church experience later, the same thing happened to me when I decided to start working with the youth group. And it was like kind of like a fill out the thing if you want to do this. And there was that whole struggle again, like, I don't know if I really want to commit to this, but it's like God just picked up the pencil and put my hand to the paper. And then I was in. I was like, okay, get off the fence,
Well, and what do you think came from those moments?
Just obviously it's faith, and a leap of faith, just knowing that this is something God is leading me to do.
Okay.
Like,
when it went well, I mean, it deepened your relationship with, and so whatever you took an action step, and that maybe led to you being more involved with the church, or it put you in scenarios you wouldn't have otherwise been in.
100%. And all the back and forth was me, saying, I'm not sure I'm ready. I'm not sure I'm equipped. I'm not sure I know what to do. I'm not sure if I want to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to commit the time. All the people, the human things.
And are you glad you took that leap of faith?
Totally.
Well, and I'm going off insider knowledge a little bit here. I'm going to pick on you a little bit,
okay.
But I've seen other instances where you have said, I feel like this is something that's been on my heart, or this is something that has spoken to me in the past, and I've seen you say no to those things.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's easy to do that and to get our own in our own ways, and there's nothing wrong with saying no to these opportunities that pop up or these opportunities that speak to us. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's simply a missed opportunity to experience the more in life that he has for us. And so and what comes to my mind, and I'm calling you out a little bit, but what comes to my mind is when we were at the play, and the people were talking about giving X amount of dollars to help a kid in a different country, and sustain them or whatever. You know what I'm talking about. And you had said that was something that had spoken to you before, and that's something that you had thought about, and you saying no to it that night. That's ultimately something you have said no to.
Well, I know exactly what you're talking about, but I also, you're right. Like, I can get in my own way all the time.
Can't we all?
Yeah, but also I want to make sure that my decisions, and I feel are driven by God, and or they're God-centered. And there are times I can be I definitely lead with my heart, like, all the time, and but I want to make sure that it's God's will.
Take the leap of faith.
So yeah, I know, I know, but I do, like, I have learned, because I've always sort of led with my heart and always, wear everything on my shoulder. I'm learning to listen for God and all that, though, too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, but I also sometimes think that when you're listening for God and you have an idea on what He's gonna say, you often miss
an opportunity,
miss what He's actually saying.
Yeah,
and like I think what God gives us is a leash, And we're like toddlers on this leash, and we can run around and we can do whatever we want. If we have an idea, he's not necessarily going to say yes, do that,
Right.
because it's within our leash. Now, if we have an idea and we're going to go off and do something that he does not want, then we'll feel a tug. No, this is something we should not do. So I think, and I think we can more expect to hear no from him in the important times than to hear him say, yes, do this.
Yeah.
Because we do have that free choice. He wants us to use our leash to the best of our ability. And so I think if you had this idea to help a kid or to support them, you're not going to get a yes from him. That's simply just a good thing to be doing.
Yeah.
I think what you would get is a no if there was a reason to not do it.
Right.
So I understand
Right.
that you're listening for God in these things,
Yeah.
but I think that when we have our ideas on what he will and won't say, I think we can sometimes be just getting in our own ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I do. Yeah, I know. And I do get in my own way. And my progress is slow. Like, I took a leap of faith to follow God. But I definitely feel like I take the curvy road sometimes, Two
Yeah.
steps forward, 3 steps back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that, and it's funny. Like, we want God to give us a roadmap on well, this is the next step, and this is what I want you to do, and like this is the yes from me, and like we want him to give us a roadmap and lay things out. And what he gives us is a compass, and he's I'm not going to tell you what's around the next turn. I'm not going to tell you what's over the next hill. You're going to have to walk up it and find out on your own. But I will guide you in the right direction. But he's not going to give us like a roadmap. But I understand wanting to know what to do each step of the way.
Yeah.
But it's our journey, and that's how we grow. And so I think that, and I understand, I for a long time I was the one getting in my own way of my relationship with him and finding the more that he had in store for me. And I realized, and I actually had this thought that hit me like a brick wall. And I wouldn't call it a vision, but I would call it a very God-given thought. And I have a journal where I could read it to you, but basically the thought was this, that at the end of my life, I'm going to die, and I'm going to stand in front of him, and he's going to show me everything that my life could have been if I had just gotten serious, or if I had just stopped getting in my own way. And for me, that was cutting out acts like alcohol, or chasing desires of the flesh, or pursuing the wrong friendships. If I could choose these things,
Right.
but I was very much just getting in the own way of the more, and he was going to show me everything my life could have been if I had just gotten serious.
Yeah.
And getting serious is taking a leap of faith.
Yeah.
And it's doing things that you're uncomfortable with or that you're not used to.
Yeah.
And so I understand getting in your own way.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where I made the decision. I was like, well, look, you've shown me what life could be if I just get serious, so I'm not getting in my own way anymore. And so I'm done with the alcohol. I'm done doing, and I made a really firm decision to cut out, to stop getting in my own way. So what I'm saying is, I understand that it's not easy to do those things.
Yeah.
But what I'm also saying is, there's a lot more you can experience if you just get serious about it.
Yeah, I know that. Can you, what was your moment? You said you had a moment?
I did say that.
Do
Yeah.
you want to share it?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not fair for me to sit here and dig into other people and not allow them to dig back. I mean, my moment, and you know this a little bit, but I actually haven't really talked much about this on the camera. I mean, I struggled for a very long time with alcohol, and that was something that was just this huge, and I didn't realize how much of a battle it was until I started learning about Jesus. But that was just a huge battle in my life for so long, and I kept, and I eventually dug myself into a deep pit that was just of my own making, and it was not good for me. But ultimately, I drank to excess far too often, far too much, and I kept getting to this point where even weekdays, whenever I'd end up so drunk, and I would end up on my kitchen floor and just wishing that I wasn't here anymore. And one day but I was there again on the kitchen floor, and I pulled open my Bible, and I couldn't even tell you which piece of scripture I read, but I just read the Bible, and it just spoke to me. It just spoke to me. And then from there on out, it was like, I don't want to keep ending up back there on the kitchen floor. I'm going to pursue this book and he showed himself, Jesus showed himself to me in that moment, not physically, not standing in front of me, but he just tugged on my heart and kind of showed me that there was more. And I just pursued that to the maximum amount of my ability. And to eventually, a year after that, I got baptized. And then a year after that, I'm about right where I'm at now. And so I feel like I dug myself into this pit.
Yeah.
I found him there. He found me. And then eventually he pulled me to, I'm at about ground level right now. And now we're starting to build up. And the foundation that we're building on is a lot more firm. But my moment was the bottom of the pit of alcohol that I'd found myself within.
Yeah. I know. Oh, that's not funny.
I mean, no, it's fine. I wouldn't change a single thing.
I know.
And it brings joy to my heart because that's just how good he is.
I know. He is. He can pull you out of the pit.
Yeah. Well, and now I'm in such a position, but even after he pulled me out of that pit, I continued to drink and I continued to do work events, and I didn't wake up one morning and was healed.
Right.
It was a long, tough journey.
Yeah.
But it was just step by step, every single step of the way. But then I got myself to a point where I was like, he showed me. He's like, Dane, you can keep doing this, but you're gonna come to me one day, and I'm gonna show you exactly what your life could have been if you had just gotten serious. And you're not getting serious, and you're missing out on them. And I made the decision. I was like, okay, enough's enough. And at that day, it was August 10th, was the last day that I drank alcohol
Of this
year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually just hit 90 days on Saturday. Saturday was
Awesome.
90 days.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. But I don't know. I just realized that I was getting in my own way, and that he had a lot more in store for me, but I wouldn't see any of that if I kept making my own decisions.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change a thing because now, I mean, look where I am.
I know.
And I'm in such a position to help other people who are currently going through that same exact thing.
Yeah.
And which is why I'm doing this, and it's why it's why I'm doing a small group on Wednesdays, and it's why I'm trying to, because I've been given something, a gift to help other people.
Yeah, and you can understand the struggle.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so and
So good.
I know. I wouldn't. God is good.
God is good.
Yeah. I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah. He's answered a lot of prayers.
Yeah. Well, and I truly, there's some dude out there struggling with alcohol, and you're not in the position to help that person. You trying to help him, you can't relate to that guy. He cannot relate to you.
Yeah.
And so I've just been given something to help other people.
Yeah.
And you got your own niche of people that you can help and that I'd never be able to touch, you know? So I think that it's our job to go out there and to try to help people get through life.
Yeah. Yeah. Shine the light.
Yeah, reflect his light. Yeah. Well, before we wrap up, let me ask you this. And I knew at some point I'd have to. There's so much more. I knew at some point I'd have to share my part of the story, and there's a lot more that goes into it that I'm sure I'll have to share at one point. But you were the only person to have pulled that out, so thanks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just want you to know that that I'm really proud of you, and that I love you.
Well, I love you too.
So, but I'm really proud of you. You're doing good. You're doing good.
Thank you.
God is really working through you. So. But yeah, thanks for this opportunity, and thanks for pushing me out of my box a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome.
And also, I think we should do it again sometime.
Okay. Well,
I
that's
mean,
funny
there's so
because
many things we could talk about.
24 hours ago, you were like,
I
I mean,
know. Well, there's so many. Well, first of all, I trust that the process is led by God. But there's so many things in life you could talk. I mean, I feel like there's so many things. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're welcome back anytime. Do you think that, do you think Dad will sit where you are?
Probably not.
Just period.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. He's very, reserved. So I don't know.
Okay. Well, and I think that whether you do, whether you don't, and yeah, of course you're welcome back. I'd love to do that. I think that what you've done is said yes to an opportunity that was put in front of you, and we don't know how that opportunity. I mean, one person could watch this video and be moved by your story, or you've pulled my story out of me. Maybe one person is moved by that, and then that one person goes and helps one person, and that domino spreads like wildfire.
Exactly.
And I think if you or anybody says no to this, there's nothing wrong with that, but we're just missing a chance to do good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thanks for saying yes.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll go see Lady. I know she's
Okay, we
dying
done?
to. Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Well, that wasn't so bad.
Hey, thanks for watching the video. If it spoke to you or if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button. There's going to be new content coming each and every single week. If you have a friend or a family member or somebody in your life who you think may benefit from a video like this, share the channel with them. Maybe it'll help. If you're personally going through a tough time and you feel like you're alone, drop a comment below. Tell me a little bit about who you are and what you're going through. I'd love to hear more. God bless you and see you next time.